everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a bunch of TBRs for November. So throughout the month of November there are a variety of different readathons happening. I've decided that I'd like to take part in 3 of them, and I'm going to talk you through what books I'll be reading for those readathons. For a full list of all the books that I'll be reading throughout the month of November, please go and check out my Roll of Reads and Believathon TBR, which I posted last week, I think, or the week before. Anyway, it's in the description below, so you can go and check that out. As most of you know, I play my TBR game, which is Roll of Reads, every single month, and that helps me to decide what my TBR is going to be for that month. In November, I knew that I really wanted to take part in Believathon, so I decided to select some Readathon prompts to mix in with my prompts. So that's how I decided my Believathon TBR. And then I thought that I would do a different video, which is this one, for the other TBRs for the other readathons. I am at the end going to go through my Believathon TBR again though, because I realised after I'd filmed it and uploaded it and everything that I didn't actually explain how the middle grade books that were chosen for me by Kim from Expedition Through Pages, how they related to Believathon. So I will talk about that at the end. Anyone that I talk about in this video will be linked in the description below. Please go and check out their channels like Kim. Also, I will link all the information about the various different readathons if you want to go and find out more about those. So let's talk about the readathons that I'm going to go in November. Obviously, as I've just said, I will be going in Believathon, and I will talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. The next readathon that I want to talk to you about today is the Long Distance Relationship Readathon. This will be going from the 8th of November through to the 14th, I think. Yes, the 14th of November, so it's a week-long readathon, and it's hosted by Chloe from Chloe Reads Books. I thought that all of the prompts sounded really interesting, but Chloe is a good friend of mine and I really wanted to support her readathon because this is her first readathon that she's hosting. So yeah, that's why I've decided to go in this readathon. So I'm going to go through what the prompts are and let you know what books I'll be reading for each prompt. You can stack prompts onto books, so you can read the same book for multiple prompts, and that is what I'll be doing because it is a week-long readathon. So let's talk about the prompts. Actually, before we do talk about the prompts, I just wanted to recommend that you guys go and watch Chloe's announcement videos, because the reason why she's put together the prompts are just really lovely, and I'm sure she'll do a much better job at explaining it than I will. So for anyone that doesn't know, Chloe's partner lives in the States and she lives in the UK, and so they haven't seen each other for like over 18 months because of COVID and the travel ban in the US. So she has very much been relying on different methods of communication like FaceTime and sending each other packages and stuff like that. And she's also been part of a group called the Long Distance Relationship, I think, group, which is on Twitter, and they've been really helping her sort of, cope with everything. So yeah, anyway, so there are 5 prompts. The first one is FaceTime calls. So that is because that is one of the main ways that Chloe and Cole stay in contact with each other. So this is a book that is recommended to you. For this one, I am actually going to read The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton. This one was recommended to me by my friend Michelle in the way that she recommends books to me, which is to say that whilst we were in a secondhand bookstore, she basically just kind of shoved it at me and said, buy this book and read it. So I'm finally going to read it. It is quite a chunky book, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to actually get through this for the entire week. I'll give it a shot, but it is over 500 pages long, so I probably won't read it in that one week, but I'm going to make a start on it just because I've got a couple of chunky books that I want to read this month, and one of them I'm waiting until the end of the month because it is my book club pick and I like to read a bit later so that I'm fresh for the live show, which means that, yeah, I don't want to have chunky books to read all together at the end of the month. So I'm going to make a start on that one next week. The next prompt is 3,924, and the reason for that prompt is because that is how many kilometres there are between Chloe's apartment door and Cole's apartment door. So for this one you need to read a book that is set in another country from your own. So I will be reading The Boy at the Back of the Class by Onjali Rauf, I think. So this is set in the UK and I live in Australia, so obviously they are different countries. So that's the book I'll be reading for this prompt. Then we have the prompt Reunion, for fairly obvious reasons, and that is to read a 5-star book. So for this one, I will be reading The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is one of my favourite books of all time. This is a very nostalgic book for me that I have been loving rereading recently, so I think that I'm going to absolutely love my reread of this one again. So yeah, 5-star prediction. Next up we have the prompt airmail, because Chloe and Cole send each other lots and lots of different packages backwards and forwards, and it's very expensive but it's very much worth the money because it's a really important way that they keep their relationship alive. So the prompt for this is to read a gifted book, so I will be reading The Boy at the Back of the Class. This one was gifted to me by Faye from Mystery Date with a Book. Yeah, so I'm really excited to finally get to this one, and thank you very much, Faye, for sending me this book. And the final prompt is travel ban, and that's now lifted. So Chloe is anticipating this being a very exciting moment when she finally gets to see Cole. So for that we need to read a feel-good or comforting read, and therefore I am going to read The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien because, as I just said, it's a very nostalgic book for me. I read this when I was very young by my parents. I have read this a number of times throughout the years, so definitely has a very, very important place in my heart. So yeah, so that is all the prompts for the long distance relationship readathon. Very short and sweet, and I'm very excited to take part. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think I have some great books that I'm going to be really enjoying. Like I said, this one is quite chunky, but it's made up for, I think, by the fact that there's quite a short middle grade in there. And then this one potentially will take me a little while, but it is a well-loved nostalgic read, so it shouldn't take me super long like other fantasies do. So that is my long distance relationship readathon TBR. The next readathon that I want to talk you through is the Royal Readathon, and this is actually the Fairies edition. So this is a readathon that is based on Disney and Disney cartoons, and we will be talking about different fairies that appear in different Disney cartoons. This is, I think, like the 4th or 5th round of the readathon. It is hosted by Becca from the Becca Fowl and Liv from Live in Magical Bookland. As with everybody, their channels will be linked in the description below, obviously Chloe's as well, and Faye, and anyone else they talk about. So like I said, please go and check them out. And the announcement videos for all of these readathons are in the description below as well, so go and check those out as well. So they have selected, I think, all of the fairies that appear in like the popular Disney cartoons, and there are prompts that go with those fairies that you then read books for. So let's go through those now. So first up we have Tink, and for this we need to reread a book so the story never dies. For that one I will be reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. I think we all know what this one is about, and it is definitely a reread for me, so I'm looking forward to reading it again. Then we have Flora, and for this we need to read a book with a beautiful cover. So for this one I will be reading Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. I think this is just an absolutely stunning cover, so yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. I've heard really amazing things about it and I'm really looking forward to it, so that's that one. Then we have the fairy Fauna, and for this prompt we need to read a book with a fixer-upper character, and for this one I've chosen Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. The reason for this is because Amari is from kind of a lower socioeconomic part of where she lives. She goes to a quite well-known prep school, and people that she goes to school with consider her to be somewhat lower class. So yeah, I think that makes her a bit of a fixer-upper, plus she doesn't have a great opinion of herself, so she considers herself a bit of a fixer-upper. So yeah, that's what I've counted for that one. Then we have the fairy Merryweather, and for this one we need to read a book with a disagreement. So for this one I'm actually going to go with Birdbox by Josh Mallerman. I have yet to borrow this one from the library. This is a book that I'll be reading with my mum, and there is a disagreement between the aliens that overtake the world and the people that live in the world, so I could think that classifies as a disagreement. So that's the book I'll be reading for that one. The next fairy, although I wouldn't classify this as a fairy because it's, well, a genie, and that is the Genie from Aladdin. And for this we need to read a book with a found family, and for this one I'll be reading Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I don't really know how the found family aspect fits in here, but I have heard that as a description for this book, so yeah, I think that this counts. I hope it counts anyway, and I'm really looking forward to this one. I've heard great things again about this one, so yeah. And then finally, the last fairy we have is the fairy godmother, and for this we need to read a book with a classic storyline. So for this one I will be reading The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. I think The Lord of the Rings is pretty much considered a classic of modern fantasy, so yeah, I think this is a classic storyline for obvious reasons, so that's the book I've chosen for this one. Alright, and the final thing that I need to talk you through is basically just to go over again the Believathon prompts that I got and how the books fit in for that. So, as you guys would know, if you watched my TBR game, I got 4 Believathon prompts. I don't remember if I got this in the correct order, but anyway, we'll just go with it. So I got the prompt, better than a lifelong lover when you buy a book with a beautiful cover. Read a cover by, and for that I will be reading the Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James. This isn't entirely a cover by, or it's at least not only a cover by, because I did hear about this one from a number of people, most notably Gavin and Jade. So yeah, that's cover by because it is beautiful, and I looked at it and thought, oh my god, that's amazing, but yeah, it wasn't just a cover by. So there's that. Then I got More Than a Million Have Different Views. It's Time to Walk in Other People's Shoes. Read an Own Voices book. And for this one, I chose Yinti Desert Child by Pat Lowe and Jimmy Pike. This is an Own Voices book about a young boy, a young Aboriginal boy who lives in sort of the middle of Australia, the Australian desert, and has no contact with white man, and it's about what happens when he has his first contact with white man. So yeah, it is written, like I said, by Aboriginal authors, so I thought that would fit the bill. The next prompt that I got was, haven't I seen you before? You look rather familiar. How alike we both sound, it's like looking in a mirror. Read a book that was adapted, so for this one I'll be reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl, because it's been adapted at least twice into movies. There may be other movies, but it's been adapted into 2 different movies at the very least. And the final prompt that I picked up on my roll of reads was, on and on the story goes, read it quick or decompose. Read a long book, and for this one I chose Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. It is 400 I should say, and 7 pages long, which is quite long for a middle grade, so that's why I picked it. Also, I really, really want to read it. Also, look at that cover. It's beautiful. Then Kim, in her TBR trail, selected 4 books for me, 2 of which were middle grade prompts. So I'll talk you through how they fit, how I figured out that they'll fit into the Believathon prompts. So for her TBR trail, I got middle grade with an animal on the cover, and I chose Black Cockatoo by Carl Merison and Hakia Hustler. And this one fits the Believathon prompt. Let's make it tricky. Let's make this hard. Choose your words wisely, the rest to discard. Read a book with a 2-word title. Black Cockatoo. And then again for TBR trail I got middle grade, Own Voices. So for that I chose The Boy at the Back of the Class by Onjali Rauf. For Believathon, this will fit the prompt that says, there's nothing more real than the stories of us reflected in pages. There's much to discuss. read a contemporary book. So this is about a young boy, a young Syrian refugee who flees to London and enrolls in a London, or is enrolled by his family in a school in London, and it's actually told from the points of view of the other children in the class, which I find really interesting. So yeah, I think that fits that one really well as well. Alright, so those are the 3 readathons that I will be participating in, or I am currently participating in, since this is going up in the first week of November. So yeah, please comment and let me know if you're going in any of those readathons and what you'll be reading and how they fit the various prompts, or let me know if you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video and what you thought of them. If you would like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then please leave me some kind of bird emoji in honor of the black cockatoo. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you